everyone, I'm Cait Brunkhorst, and this is like the first time I'm wearing real clothes in weeks. My apocalypse outfit has been like sweatpants and pajamas. I love it. But this is also the first time I am ever doing a live stream. It's insane. So I apologize for any disaster that might occur while I'm manning the ship. Again, apologies. So now a little bit about me before I get started. I've always been fascinated by stories, and I love to ask questions because I love to learn. I love to learn about people's experiences and how those experiences have shaped their lives. And I've recently discovered my own voice and my own experiences, and I started to write them down on paper, and I added rhymes and plays on words, and it eventually turned into poetry, which is why I'm here tonight. That and a pandemic, but let's focus on the positive. So another thing that you might notice is that occasionally I will speak incorrectly. That's because I come from the frozen tundra that is Minnesota, and the land of 10,000 lakes, Bloody Marys, and sublime cuisine, which is the inspiration of the first poem that I will share. He will want me for my hot dish. He'll pass by Khalees and her milkshake. He'll say no thanks to Rihanna's birthday cake. For him, rejecting them will be no hard decision, because he knows that this Minnesota girl can offer the whole damn kitchen on one single plate. I'm talking starches for days, cheese, bacon, and steak, sour cream for extra taste, every artery-clogging food drowning in a cream of mushroom soup, then topped with tater tots for a gastronomical win. This right here is the definition of culinary perfection, when it is tasting like heaven but feeling like sin. And he will choose me for my hot dish. Since he will know the difference between something magnificent and some basic ass casserole, he won't settle for chicken and veggies rolled together with no attention. Please, that's just a hot mess. But when it's hearty and made with affection, that, my friend, now that is a hot dish. And he will be thankful. The women from the world of paleo could make him thinner, but my cooking will maintain that plush bod to keep him warm during the winter. And in the Midwest, that's how we say, I love you. Baby, eat this because you don't have to change one damn thing about you. And I added in some mayonnaise because I don't want you to be cold for the next 340 days. My God, why do we live in this place? And he will cherish me for my hot dish. Relationships are about being able to tend to and being able to nourish. And he will be the type of guy who will be able to notice that we are both people wanting and willing to do this. So we'll sit down for dinner, not caring what's being served later. Right now, we're just going to be still and savor every aspect of these moments and these rare flavors called devotion and care, two missing ingredients in most modern love affairs. And that's why he'll value my hot dish. He's craving sustenance. We both had our appetizers and our snacks, which were good, but they had so much that they lacked. They never made us feel full. So now we strive and appreciate what can make us feel whole, and we'll have dessert with each other soon. Something we're both very fond of. Who doesn't enjoy a good double entendre? But for him and for me, it won't be as important as the main meal. I find those confused, even angered by my candor and apparently outdated standards. Sorry, I'm not sorry for wanting something real. So if you can't handle hot dish as a staple, then honey, you don't deserve a seat at my table. So that was the first poem I ever recited in front of people. It was a slam event at Goldie's. It was hosted through Big Tree Arts, which is a very cool organization ran by even cooler people. And, the day before, I wasn't sure if I was going to present it because I absolutely hate talking in front of people. But when I heard it was at Goldie's, I was like, okay, they make really good mimosas. And to quote my friend Kevin, their pies are thick with 2 C's. So it's like, it'd be rude not to go. And I went saying it would be a one and done thing. 2 weeks later, I went to Even Stevens to do another slam, but they have beer and excellent breakfast burritos. So if you're noticing something, it's that I'm swayed by food and alcohol. Anyways, the next poem will be a little bit more serious with a not so serious title. It's called I Love Lamp. There was a reader, a self-described intellectual type. He had his chair, his book. All he needed was a light. So he went to the store to find a lamp that was not only suitable. Her splendor was irrefutable, with a porcelain body all shiny and new. But the reader didn't fully appreciate her. He just looked at her and said, "You'll do." So they went home together. He turned her on for his reading pleasure. She was just there to make his life better. So she strived to be bright as he read under his light every day, every morning, every goddamn night. He just couldn't get enough. Kept taking in the glow, so he never turned her off. Even when he'd be gone, several hours he'd be gone with the light still on, and thus she got dimmer as the days went on. But the reader never noticed. He was too focused on himself, not truly devoted to anyone else, and eventually her light bulb burnt out. Now the reader was angered by the room of darkness, asked the lamp how she could be so heartless, yelled at her for being so selfish. "If you're not going to shine for me," he shouted, "then you're broken and there's no point keeping you around." So he tossed her out. Her porcelain body had chipped a bit as it hit the ground, but the worst part wasn't that she was alone on the street. No, the worst part was that she believed. She trusted in the words that were spoken and in the fact that she was truly broken. And she thought this for an extensive time, until the right guy, Mr. Fix-It, came by, striding his nonchalant, heroic vibe. He picked her up, wondering why someone would toss out a perfectly wonderful lamp. "Because I'm damaged," she replied. But Mr. Fix-It was smart, you see. He wasn't easily persuaded. He could tell she was a little jaded from being underappreciated. So he took her to his shop, polished her up, put a new light bulb on her top, and she illuminated the room. "You fixed me," she shouted in a joyous cry. He laughed a little, gave a little sigh. "I didn't fix you," was his reply. "You see, I didn't fix you because you were never truly broken. You yourself always had that ability to shine." From then on, the lamp provided light whenever he was present, which was frequent but not every second, and he provided the tools that she needed to be luminescent. So together, in this world so reliant on thievery, where people take what they can get whenever they see fit, these two gave to each other evenly. And the lamp finally understood what love is about. It should make you feel whole as well as valuable, but it should never, ever burn you out. Now, the more that I do poetry, the more I get asked, what is your creative process like? And to be honest, I'm still fairly new, so I don't really know what my creative process is yet. I know if I have one, it probably involves a lot of crying and a lot of gin. But I do strive to have a message in all of my poetry, and this one was the only one that I knew what the message was going to be about from the very beginning, and I knew how I was going to interpret that moral. But everything else has been delivered and forged from pure want. I want to talk about the glory that is hot dish. I want to talk about zebras. And this next poem derived from I want to have a poem like Paper People. And Paper People is a fantastic poem performed and written by a poet named Harry Baker, British, brilliant. If you have never heard of Harry Baker, and if you love language and the use of creative language, you have to look him up. It's phenomenal. His poem on prime numbers, I never thought that math could be adorable, but he makes it work. And Paper People is just impressive. And I never realized how impressive it was until I tried my own. And I enjoyed writing it. I rehearsed it, and I grew to hate that poem really, really quickly. But nevertheless, I'm gonna perform it for you right now. It's called Bobby Built a Bridge. And I'm gonna get some water really quickly. Okay. Bobby built a bridge, but the bridge was always broken. The bolts were buckling, barely bearing, while the bindings were boundlessly busting open. Be that as it may, Bobby kept hoping. Bit by bit, brick by brick, beam by beam, Bobby wanted to bring about not just better bridges, but the best bridges the biosphere has ever seen. From Brussels and Belgium to Bristol and Britain, from Bora Bora to Boise, go Broncos, to Brooklyn. Because Bobby believed in the bridge and its benefits, bettering the public with its bountiful benevolence, and that's what Bobby wanted, a better connection between everyone. People around town never saw that, though, too blinded by the broken bridge with buckling bolts, and as a result, Bobby kept being bombarded by bothersome bullies whose banter left Bobby disheartened. And the billow of badly behaved browbeats would bellow, "Yo, Bob the Builder! Guess you can't fix it." They weren't the wittiest, but still, their banter barreled about Bobby's brain, and before long, his once beloved bridges became his bane. He felt like a failure. And that belief battered and shattered his buoyant behavior. He started to compare himself to others. Even Betty Botter made better batter by buying less bitter butter, Bobby would mutter. And he felt branded by his blunders, so he stated as he belted up his breeches, "No more building, I am boycotting bridges." But then, by some benefic blessing, Bobby bumped into a bohemian belle, an absolute beacon of beauty. Her bewitchment brought Bobby to be less broody. A bit baffled, he bashfully babbled, "Hi, I'm Bobby. I used to build bridges." And that bodacious babe breathed right back and said, "Hi, Bobby. I'm Bridget. I like to build bobsleds." But Bridget found Bobby's personal ban on building to be quite bizarre, so she asked him why things were the way that they are. And Bobby blurted about his botched building abilities, about the banter of the barbaric bullies, how the bridge was always breaking, and how Betty Botter was so much better at baking than he was at building. And all the while Bridget listened, and when he finished, she glistened and said, "Bobby, the world is bursting at its brim with basic bitches who want to burn bridges, and you would think that with all that fire, the world would be so much warmer, or just a bit brighter. That's why we need people like you, the believers, the dreamers, the fighters, who build us all hope made to inspire." After that, Bobby and Bridget became best buddies forever, blasting out Beastie Boys as background noise as they built bobsleds and bridges together. And Bobby always remembered that the banter never mattered, because better your blunders be building bridges than having all your achievements involve burning them. Okay, so I'm gonna slow it way down now because that poem goes against my very nature as a Minnesotan. We love to talk leisurely. So the next two poems are gonna be more my own pace. So when I wrote this next one, I was on a vacation with my very dear friends. Hi, Chelsea, Megan, and Saul. And we were at South Padre. If you don't know anything about South Padre, it is the spring break capital of America. And it is also home to master sand sculptors, which I didn't even know was a profession. And it made me rethink all of my life choices. Why would I be a teacher when I could be building sandcastles all day? And then I asked myself, why would I be a teacher teaching middle school students when I could be building sandcastles all day? And so I built a sandcastle, which was more like a sand hut, and I answered my own question. But I did imagine that I built a huge sandcastle, and I wrote a poem that was what was going inside my mind when I built this imaginary sandcastle. The poem is cleverly entitled Sandcastle Poem. I built a sandcastle just for you. Within it, the rooms are all sandy and new. But I realize you dig the old school vibe, so I built you a great hall, a curtain wall, and several turrets too. There's a western tower we could climb every hour to relish the sun as it dances over the water. Its golden rays will glimmer in the sapphire shades, and we'll be thankful for all these moments we have with one another. Just you and me, admiring nature's aquatic freedom from her sandy kingdom by the sea. And there will still be tough days where the strong winds will gather to create their famous yet formidable waves, but the ocean water will just float right into the moat that I built, so inside our sandcastle we'll stay safe. I thought of everything for you in this quirky but perfect place. Except you can't have a cat. It would be a nightmare with litter training and all, but we could have a bird and name him Steven Seagal. And if a castle is not enough for you, because beach life can be kind of slow, I will build you a whole shore metropolis, which would be dubbed San Antonio. We'd walk around shoeless listening to Beach Boys music as we explored the sand scrapers and read the daily news in the local sand papers. To others, this will sound foolish, but we'll ignore the haters and savor every precious second that we have with one another as we continue to reside inside our coastal paradise that I built just for you. Though I know it's a dream, not meant to fully come true, because you were stricken with sickness before I could finish, and I am so sorry that you won't get to appreciate that room with an ocean view. But my most beautiful, most angelic mother, I promise you that the story of our love will last forever, because when you passed away, I spread your ashes into the river, so you could meet the mountains, the forest, every splendid part of nature, until your essence kissed the sea. So now you are here, right by my sandcastle, roaming in the waves, all wild and free. There is nowhere else I'd rather be than in this peculiar home, our beachfront chateau, where I can sense your gentle presence every day as it washes over me. Thank you. So if you liked that poem, you're probably going to like the next poem, because it's very similar in format and tone. If you did not like Sandcastle poem, then this is a perfect opportunity to go to the kitchen, grab snacks, and pour yourself a drink. I mean, if it's quarantine, go crazy. So this one was inspired by my favorite place in the world, called Prince Edward Island. Now, fans of Anne of Green Gables probably just squealed. The red-blooded Americans in the audience would probably be like, that's not a place. You wouldn't name a place after a monarchy. That joke was for my British husband. I hope he enjoyed it. And I think his mother-in-law my mother-in-law is watching it too. Hopefully she enjoyed it as well. Sorry, Anne-Marie. So yes, it's a real place, and it's in Canada, and it's one of my escape places. And, you know, it's one of those places you go to if you want to just mentally go off the map. And so it's not just Prince Edward Island. It is a specific place in Prince Edward Island. It's my great uncle's blueberry farm. I've never recited this in front of people before. Hopefully it goes okay. Apologies if not. No title for this one yet. Run away with me to that blueberry farm nestled in the meadow between the forest and the sea. There will be a cozy cottage to sleep in, adjacent to a garden kingdom which we seeded for the gnomes. There will be trees for initials to be carved in, blueberries to harvest, and wide open spaces to roam. We would have everything pleasant our minds could imagine in this quaint slice of heaven that we've learned to call home. Run away with me. We'll skip through fields of indigo, be thankful for every seed that was sown, for they engender and render gentle memories running of how we were once budding, and we'll admire the way our love has grown. We could reflect from all of nature's beauty and observe all of her charm, right here on our very own little blueberry farm. Run away with me, and we could create a mediocre cover band where everything would be fruit-themed. That way, every night we play, the locals will say, hey, it's a berry jam, brie. And to be a bit different, we'll call ourselves the Blueberry Manilow Experience. We'll change Copacabana to Copa Banana, sure to be our musical crown jewel. To others, this will be too different, too unusual. It wouldn't fit their bill. But we would tell all the people it's absolutely ideal. Just peachy, perfect, if you will. Run away. Just don't run away alone. The world can be a cruel place, and just in so many ways. No one should have to face it all on their own. Now, I cannot promise a Garden of Eden, since that fruit had already been eaten, and blueberries need a colder climate to thrive. So there will be harsh times. But I need you to understand that the bitter iciness of winter will always come to an end, as will the April rain. And soon our bushes will sprout again. Their flowers will bloom, their fruit will ripen, giving new life to this fairy-like kingdom where you and I will reign. So all I ask, my dearest companion, is if you feel disheartened because the world is so heartless, unpleasant, and inhumane, run away with me. Hold my hand, I'll take you to a land that is a beautiful sapphire plain. That way we both can see that it is possible, though, for sweetness to grow, even to flourish after pain. So, I'm a fairly relaxed person, maybe too relaxed at times, but I went through a major life event this past year, which caused me to have some pretty severe panic attacks. And my therapist told me that I should think of a place that calms me down. So Prince Edward Island, or I should think of a person who calms me down and have a mental conversation with them. And that's usually a role between two people. One is my mom, the other one is the inspiration for the next poem. Now, I saved this poem to last because it's not really a technological poem. It's not very artsy. It's just very, very silly and somewhat sexual. So if you are uncomfortable with that, or if you are, say, my brother or a religion teacher that's watching, you can sign off now, and I hope you enjoy your night, or stay on, whatever you're comfortable with, and everyone else, I hope you enjoy it. I have one group of friends with certain standards for men, and they blame it on the Marvel Universe, finding it a curse that no average Joe with whom they converse has measured up to the thick thighs of Thor, or Black Panther's protruding pecs. I, on the other hand, blame my high standards on PBS, because there is no one who puts the hot in my sauce quite like the sex icon known as Bob Ross. I mean, the man's a painting god, rocking that fro like a boss, hanging with his bro Peapod, with the voice of an angel, making me feel so damn sinful, with every breathtaking episode causing my ovaries to implode by his sheer masculinity. There's no helping me, I got it bad from my man Bobby. But it's not his raw sex appeal that reels me in, it's how I've learned to feel because of him. I now feel in color, I see in pleasure, I hear the words blank canvas, and I think of all the happy accidents that can be on it. And for that, my soul feels better. Now, isn't that the most manly thing ever? So if I have a son, whenever, wherever I can, I'm going to point to Bob Ross and say, that is how you be a man, because it's not about the number of girls you can have. You don't have to prove your toughness or wear your testosterone like a badge, because you're allowed to appreciate beauty. You're allowed to feel. And if that feeling is pain, you don't have to wear it on your shoulders like some golden chain, because you're allowed to heal. And most importantly, there is no shame for carrying in animals and giving them cute as hell names, like Squirrely Whirly Brown, Bob Ross's epileptic squirrel. So the most manly thing you can do is find a way to create bliss and share that with the world. So ladies, you can keep your Captain America or any other Marvel men I can mention. I'll keep crushing hard on Bob Ross, because he's not just some comic book hero. He's a straight up legend. Well, that's all the time I have for tonight. I just want to say thank you to everyone who is listening. Thank you to my husband who helped me set up this. And thank you to ArgosTV and Big Tree Arts, not only for letting me recite poetry, but also for everything that you are doing for the community. It is nothing short of admirable. Good night, everyone. Joy, love, and sweet blessings to you all.